and welcome to another edition of the Morning Update live on NTN. We're coming to you live from our GIS studios. My name is Jessie Leonce. I'd like to thank you so much for tuning in. For those of you who are tuning in on air, online, St. Lucians in the diaspora, well-wishers globally, joining us residents here on island, thank you so much for tuning in. St. Lucia continues to watch over COVID-19. Our population remains very much vulnerable to the effects, and so there is heightened concern in the recent days, as we've seen so far an increase in registered cases. We're going to hear from the Chief Medical Officer in just a moment. Also, we have an update from the Office of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, has announced the reinstatement of the St. Lucia National Trust's subvention, and that was part of an address being made for the occasion of the Emancipation Day holiday. We also have the Electoral Department being encouraged to heighten public education beyond the general election period for greater participation by the electorate. We have some other updates, including additional appointments, in addition to the Prime Minister's appointment this past week of the Press Secretary, as well as the new Attorney General of St. Lucia. So we're going to get into the details of these stories and more. We hope that you've had a rested weekend and ready to take on a short week. I mean, it's already the 3rd of August 2021, and we're barreling through August. We hope that for parents who are preparing to send their kids back to school soon, kids who are on vacation, you're making the most of the time. I did try to venture out to the beach just yesterday, day before yesterday, and the beaches were packed. So persons are making the most of the time. But we need to continue to be vigilant because COVID-19 remains an ever-present threat. We're going to get into the details in just a moment. Stay tuned. A quick break.
We can win this war. Get vaccinated. We're taking our life back. Get vaccinated. We know what to do. Get vaccinated. COVID-19 we won't lose to you. Oh no. Take 2 doses. Take our life back. Time for a brand new day. Take 2 doses. Take our life back. To live and work and play. Take 2 doses. Take our life back. The health experts we trust. Take 2 doses. Take our life back. Vaccinate for you, for yours, for us.
Let's take our life back with a safe and effective AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine. The mobile vaccination drive is coming to you. Visit the Ministry of Health and Wellness and Bureau of Health Education Facebook pages for more information. Let's take our life back. Vaccinate for you, for yours, for us.
Get vaccinated.
This message is brought to you by the Bureau of Health Education of the Ministry of Health and Wellness and this station.
Thank you so much for staying tuned. This is the Morning Update live on NTN. Thank you so much for joining myself, Jessie Leonce, and the rest of the production team for this morning's program. It has been a week since the seat contest for Parliament, the general election that is. Emerging Prime Minister Honorable Philip Pierre has promptly commenced the duties of his office and also to reaffirm his commitments on a few matters, including the pledge to parents and guardians regarding student facilities fees for their children, and also the subvention restoration to the St. Lucia National Trust. Now, the latter was disclosed during the Prime Minister's address in observance of Emancipation Day this past weekend. This announcement was part of a list of announcements that he made to convey the intention of his administration to enhance the Emancipation Day observance and doing more overall to recognize and prioritize our patrimony and cultural heritage, and that included the restoration of the subvention to the St. Lucia National Trust. So we go to our first clip of the morning with the Prime Minister, Honorable Philip J. Pierre.
The government of St. Lucia will immediately reinstate the government subvention to the St. Lucia National Trust. Our government will also lend full support to the Caribbean Reparation Commission in its efforts to obtain reparation justice from our former European colonial powers. The commemoration of emancipation will not, however, be confined to giving greater recognition to the 1st August. It has to be a continuous process of continuous education, and so this government will take steps to ensure that the African, Caribbean, and St. Lucian history is taught at all levels of our schools. We'll also examine the possibility of making Creole an official language of our country.
That was Prime Minister Honorable Philip Pierre. And he also used the opportunity in his address on the heels of emancipation to commend the ICA organization for their consistency in highlighting our heritage and also pushing activities for Emancipation Day celebrations. Moving on from the government of St. Lucia, more specifically the Office of the Prime Minister, the first appointments by the Prime Minister were also made in the past week in addition to his very own. The Prime Minister, Honorable Philip Pierre, received his warrant of appoint assigning him responsibility for the portfolios of finance, economic development, and the youth economy. Prime Minister Pierre has maintained the established tradition by assuming responsibility for the country's most important ministerial portfolios. His professional qualifications in economics and business management will be well utilized in these portfolios. And this is just an excerpt from a press release that we received from the Office of the Prime Minister. Also appointed last week, we had the Attorney at Law, Mr. Leslie Mondesi, who he was sworn in as the Attorney General of St. Lucia, bringing into effect the first two mandatory executive positions required by the Constitution of St. Lucia. Honorable Leslie Mondesi, who brings 21 years of experience as a practicing attorney, will serve in the Cabinet of Ministers as the Chief Legal Advisor. And we have a clip at this time of the appointment being held at that brief ceremony being held at Government House last week. If we just go to the clip of Honorable Leslie Mondesi speaking after the appointment.
Here on this beautiful day. It is indeed with great sense of honor that I stand before you all to accept the position of Attorney General of our beautiful country, St. Lucia. I would like to thank the Honorable Prime Minister for having the confidence in me and for trusting my ability to carry out this task at such a crucial time of our history. My gratitude also goes to my family, my friends, and my colleagues for all the support that I have received thus far and the encouragement over the years. Special mention to my brother, colleague, Brother Claudius Francis, who is here with us today. I think we did it, my brother. We did it. At this point, I want to pay a special tribute to my now deceased aunts who raised me and who, without a doubt, would have been very proud of me today. I pledge to do my utmost best in performing the task which has been entrusted to me. I will not pretend that it's an easy endeavor, and obviously it will take a lot of hard work, but I am up for the challenge and I'm ready to serve my people and my country with devotion and pride. Thank you very much this afternoon.
That was Honorable Leslie Mondesi, the new Attorney General of St. Lucia. And continuing on with work going on from the Office of the Prime Minister since his appointment on the 28th of July, we had the Prime Minister, Honorable Philip Pierre, meeting with the permanent secretaries and other personnel within the various government ministries and departments to ascertain the current state of the country's affairs. The Chief Medical Officer provided a briefing on COVID-19. We also had an update from her on critical health security matters, whilst the Permanent Secretary for Economic Development provided updates regarding St. Jude Hospital and other key capital projects. A meeting with the St. Lucia Air and Seaports Authority, SLASPA, was also held, where an update of the Uranor International Airport redevelopment project was provided. The Prime Minister will give an update to the nation with giving a report on the state of affairs once a full assessment has been completed following meetings with the relevant government ministries. The Prime Minister continues his meetings with government officials well into Friday and into this week, which will culminate with a meeting of elected members of Parliament. Preparations are being made right now. Just want to let you know for the swearing-in ceremony of the Cabinet of Ministers, and it has been slated for Thursday, 5th August 2021 at the Mindu Phillip Park. And of course, more details, we will provide you with more details soon on this activity. and also more especially as the Prime Minister charts the way forward to better the lives and livelihoods of St. Lucian people. And I was just referencing the Prime Minister to update the nation, this press release coming from the Office of the Prime Minister. And we mentioned earlier the COVID-19 situation, an update being given by the CMO to the Prime Minister. We have the regular updates coming from the Department of Health as well. That is coming up directly after this break. We invite you to stay tuned for that and other updates coming from us for the next 30 minutes or so.
Virus ready to harm us. Panic is not the answer. We can win this together. Often use hand sanitizer, better yet use soap and water.
We must protect each other if we are to beat this corona.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. Be a soldier, together we can beat this corona.
So you don't become the next case. Avoid touching your face. I'm sure you've been told so. Handshakes and hugging are up. No, no.
Advice give you the please. Cover your mouth and your nose if you cough or sneeze.
Practice social distancing and avoid large social gatherings.
Together let us win this war. Be a soldier for St. Lucia. Together let us win this war. St. Lucia, be a soldier. Together we can beat this corona.
For further information, please contact the hotline at 311 or the Bureau of Health Education at 468-5349.
Thank you so much for staying with us. This is the Morning Update live on NTN. We just got off to rounding of an appointment, a word on an appointment being held at Government House last week of the Attorney General, incoming Attorney General, Honorable Leslie Mondesi. We have another appointment which happened before the week ended of Ms. Mondi Lewis, who will serve as the Press Secretary to the Prime Minister in the Office of the Prime Minister. She's transitioning as her role from Communications Officer for the party, the St. Lucia Labour Party, into this role. And we wish everyone who's been appointed so far all the best. We want to remind you that the appointment of the cabinet ministers, that is the swearing-in ceremony, that is slated for Thursday, the 5th of August, 2021 at the Mindu Phillip Park. We have updates from the Department of Health and Wellness as usual. Concerningly, there have been, within the last 72 hours, we had word of 66 new cases being registered. And as we take stock of this information, we need to also be conscious of our actions, reducing as much as possible any chances, the likelihood of the virus transmission. So yesterday, the 2nd of August, we got word of 14 new cases of COVID-19. We're going to read out the press release in just a moment. The day before that, that was the 1st of August, we got word from the Department of Health and Wellness of 22 new cases. And on the 31st of July, we got word of 29 new cases. So coming back to the latest word that we received from the department, Monday, yesterday, August 2nd, the Ministry of Health and Wellness received confirmation of 14 new cases of COVID-19 from the Ezra Long Laboratory. And this is from a total of 180 samples taken during the period 29th July to 1st August 2021. These samples were processed on the latter. And these 14 individuals were seen at various community respiratory clinics where they were assessed and tested for COVID-19. In keeping with the national COVID-19 protocols, as per usual, these individuals were placed in home quarantine by healthcare practitioners while awaiting receipt of their COVID-19 test results. Arrangements have since been made to place the individuals into isolation, and meantime, the contact tracing efforts are underway. Confirmation was also received of the recovery of 9 individuals, bringing the total number of active cases in country to date to 164. Now, presently, 2 of the active cases are requiring critical care at the respiratory hospital. The new cases bring the total number of cases diagnosed in country to date to 5,646. In terms of vaccinations here on island, we're nowhere near out of the woods in terms of attaining herd immunity against COVID-19. But just to give you an idea of the figures, 32,237 individuals have received the first dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, and 24,602 individuals would have received their second dose of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. Today, if you are interested in getting vaccinated, today you have the time, you're off, you're on vacation, school's out, and you want to get the jab, you can go to the Philip Marsley grounds in Vieux-Fort and the Grosley Human Resource Center to get either your first shot or your second shot if you are due for it. People can also access the COVID-19 vaccine at the wellness centers around the island by calling or walking in to make an appointment. So please take note of that. If you're interested, you can get vaccinated. The vaccination drive, the national vaccination campaign continues, and you can get vaccinated. And, you know, in addition to these figures, the 32,000 plus getting their first dose and the 24,000 plus getting their second dose, we know persons who are returning home to St. Lucia from school for vacation or just returning home from business trips and so on, who would have gotten vaccinated abroad. And so that is also a point to consider in terms of our vaccination figures increasing here on island. But we still need to take every precaution because at this time, the majority of our population is not vaccinated, and we need to get as many persons vaccinated as possible. Until such time as that happens, we need to take every precaution. We have a clip from the Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Sharon Belmont-George, speaking on this, the concern with respect to the increased cases. Of course, you would recall that we had a lessening, a relaxation of the restrictions with respect to the COVID-19 protocols, and also incentive, I would imagine, being offered to persons who have, well, privilege, I should say, for persons who are fully vaccinated, being able to indulge and engage in social activities once more. But there is definitely the concern with respect to these latest figures. Take a look.
Reminds the public that we are still in a vulnerable position based on the high risk of introduction of COVID-19 and the other variants of concern from the developed countries and our neighboring Martinique. We are also at risk for transmission of COVID-19 in country due to poor compliance to protocols. We note the increase in social activities across the island, especially on the weekends, and the general relaxation of the public health measures. We continue to advise the public to remain vigilant, adhere to the protocols that are put in place to keep us safe from the virus.
Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sharon Belmont-George. We just want to let you know that the 5 respiratory clinics are the Vieux-Fort Wellness Center, the Soufrière Hospital, the Dennery Hospital, the Leclerc Wellness Center, and the Grosley Polyclinic. So if you have any symptoms, you're not feeling yourself, you have any respiratory symptoms, you can go to any one of these respiratory clinics so that you can be assessed and tested if need be for COVID-19. And at this point, we want to take a break. When we come back, we have more word from our Prime Minister, Honorable Philip Pierre, on an explosion that resulted in a minor fire at the St. Jude Hospital. So stay tuned for word from the Prime Minister on that incident and the resolve of the government in terms of dealing with the St. Jude situation.
What's in the food you're eating? Do you really even know? All the chemicals and hormones used to accelerate their growth. All the artificial flavoring, sweeteners and colors too. We consume and we don't spare a thought for the damage that they'll do. No, think about the children. Think about the children. How will we save them? Chemicals and GMOs are not the solution. Use organic and join revolution.
Excessive agrochemical use, additives and genetically modified foods are harmful to health and the environment. Join the good food revolution. Grow, buy and consume organic. A message from Rise St. Lucia and the Ministry of Sustainable Development with funding from the GEF Small Grants Program, UNDP.
The good food revolution.
Thank you so much for staying with us. This is the morning update live on NTN. We have word at this time from the Prime Minister speaking on the explosion that occurred last week at the St. Jude Hospital, which resulted in a minor fire at that site. I just want to quote from the Prime Minister. He did indicate that he thought it necessary last week to visit the site to receive first-hand information. As you know, St. Jude Hospital is a priority, he has indicated, of this government, and an investigation will be conducted to determine the cause and to assess the impact of this fire. The Prime Minister indicated that he spoke to Ms. Sheena Franklin, a staff member who sustained injuries to her arms during the fire and was admitted to the hospital. They were assured by the medical team, her medical team, that she was on course for a speedy recovery. He also wanted to salute Officer Tyler Frederick and young Jude Joseph, who assisted in extinguishing that fire. And of course, he indicates that they were the real heroes coming out of that incident. He also wishes to extend gratitude to the patients and staff of the St. Jude Hospital and the people of the South for their endurance, and assures them that this government is committed to the completion and commission of the St. Jude Hospital. So that was the word from the Prime Minister shortly after the incident in the south of the island, an explosion which resulted in a minor fire at the St. Jude's Hospital. We're rounding off our morning update today. We'd like to thank you so much for tuning in, just to go over information that is very important. This week, Thursday, 5th August, we have the swearing-in ceremony for the Cabinet of Ministers, and it's been slated for a Thursday at the Mindu Philip Park. Coming off of this past week, we had the appointments of the Prime Minister, Honorable Philip Pierre, also the Attorney General, Honorable Leslie Mondesi, and the Press Secretary, Ms. Mondi Lewis. And this week we will see a culmination of the appointments in terms of the Cabinet of Ministers. The Prime Minister, I remind you, has indicated that he will be providing an update to the nation once he has gotten a comprehensive all-round report on his ministerial portfolios and just matters in general, lead matters in general, coming out of the government of St. Lucia. Provide an update based on the government of St. Lucia's intentions going forward following these meetings. And so far, he has met with the Chief Medical Officer on the COVID-19 situation, very critical situation here on island, also other health security matters here on island. He has also met with the Permanent Secretary for Economic Development, providing updates regarding St. Jude Hospital and other key capital projects. And he has also met with SLASPA, that is the St. Lucia Air and Seaports Authority, with respect to the Uranora International Airport redevelopment project. And he has indicated, has assured that he will provide an update to the nation with a report on the country's state of affairs once a full assessment has been made. Meantime, we did hear from the Prime Minister on this Emancipation Day holiday weekend, an announcement that the subvention to the St. Lucia National Trust will be restored. It will be reinstated as part of the government's intention to enhance the Emancipation Day observance, and also to overall recognize and prioritize the country's patrimony and its cultural heritage. And we do know that the St. Lucia National Trust plays an important role in the preservation of our heritage, as well as the importance of sustainable use of our environment. So that is the latest word from the Prime Minister on that. Among other intentions that he indicated, if my memory serves me right, he did indicate that he hopes to implement African history, Caribbean history, and St. Lucia's very own history at every level of our education system here in St. Lucia, so that our young ones are educated, they are aware of our history. And he also made mention of the 1794 to 1798 Brigand Wars, which is such a very pivotal point, a watershed moment for St. Lucia in the general fight against slavery in our part of the world. So that and other developments in terms of slavery, abolition, emancipation, these things will be pushed. Awareness of these moments in our history will be pushed at those levels. He also indicated the hope, the intention, exploring how Creole can become the official second language of our country. And he also gave kudos to the ICA organization for their consistency in highlighting the emancipation activities, emancipation awareness overall in the last few years. Well, we've come to the end of our morning update. I'd like to thank you so much for watching, going over our coverage for the morning updates. We also had the electoral department this morning being encouraged to heighten public education beyond the general election period for greater participation by the electorate, and also the word from the Office of the Prime Minister, the update from the Department of Health and Wellness. And we encourage you, I mean, as I indicated earlier, trying to get to a beach this weekend was very difficult to get a space there because persons were packed shoulder to shoulder, literally bumper to bumper on the shore, trying to get the beach experience because it was a sweltering weekend. But while you're going about your social activities, even if you feel that you are fully inoculated and you're fully immune from COVID-19, there are others, the majority of the population are not yet. So please take every precaution to ensure that yourself, your family, who may not be vaccinated as yet, they are protected from any risk of transmission. On that note, I sign off on behalf of the entire production team for today. Here's to hoping you have a productive week. It's a short week coming off of the Emancipation Day holiday weekend, but we hope it's productive and enjoyable for you. Make someone smile and of course, look for things to smile about in your own space, a beautiful flower, a sunny day, a promotion, whatever it may be, a good lunch. We do hope that you find reasons to smile and find reasons to be grateful this week. We're coming off of a very active, heightened, energetic, high-octane few months coming off of the election campaigning, and we hope that we can take it down a notch and begin the process of the continuation of governance here in St. Lucia, continuation of life safely, more specifically as it pertains to COVID-19. So enjoy the rest of the day. Keep safe, everyone. Cheers. Jessie Leon signing off. Goodbye.